Have you ever heard of Andy Owen? Well, you're about to. I'm gonna drag you kicking and screaming in front of an Andy Owen original here with this big meltdown that she had on video where she made an absolute fool of herself. Now, Andy Owen is the head of Miller Knoll, which is the company most famous for their Herman Miller chairs. They're high-end chairs, and with the way people talk about them, I have to imagine that shit is made out of, like, unicorn hide or something. Like, it is actually fucking sewn with angel's tears. It must be so fucking comfortable with the way people rant about how amazing they are. I've never seen them, I've never tried them, so I don't really have a horse in that race on whether or not Herman Miller chairs are worth their price or whatever. But all I can tell you is Andy Owen is not worth her salary because she just embarrassed that whole company. In a nutshell, she had a video come out that surfaced where she was telling the employees that they need to stop worrying about not receiving company bonuses. They need to just do the work and everything's going to be alright. They need to focus instead on hitting their company's $26 million sales goal, and that's all that matters. Fuck bonuses, who cares? Meanwhile, she's getting a nearly like $4 million bonus herself. So the employee bonuses are kaput, but hers is still just fine. And her video is just so bad. And it was so bad, in fact, that she has already released an apology. In an email sent to employees, she said, "I want to be transparent and empathetic, and as I continue to reflect on this instance, I feel terrible that my rallying cry seemed insensitive. What I'd hoped would energize the team to meet a challenge we've met many times before landed in a way that I did not intend, and for that I am sorry. Nothing will lessen the power and strength of our collective team. My appreciation for each of you is huge, and I will continue to do everything I can to help us meet our shared goals. Thank you for your hard work, your grace, and for the commitment you show to one another and our company every single day." This is a big nothing burger. This is actual garbage. Like, as far as apologies go, this is about as insincere as it gets. This is corporate PR speak. It's not like she was giving a rallying cry. She literally just started vomiting, just diarrheaing out cliches and just worthless platitudes to her employees before getting visibly angry that her employees were upset about not getting a bonus. And then even told them to leave Pity City. So it's all stupid here. This apology is trash.
The most important thing we can do right now is focus on the things that we can control. None of us could have predicted COVID. None of us could have predicted supply chain. None of us could have predicted bank failures. But what we can do is stay in front of our customers, provide the best customer service.
Maybe I should really understand the situation beforehand. So this right now sounds like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation with axing the bonuses last minute. After telling employees to leave Pity City over lack of bonuses. Damn. Actually dropped an unironic welcome to the wambulance. How about a side of French fries? Jesus Christ. CEO of the high-end furniture company is sparking backlash over video in which she exhorts employees to leave Pity City. After some asked about staying motivated in the absence of a company bonus, Andy Owen, whose company Miller Knoll sells the iconic Herman Miller Aeron chair, along with other upscale furniture, responded in a 1 minute 21 second clip. Okay, this is all about the clip. What's like the actual situation though? So it looks like she got a multi-million-dollar bonus and canceled all of the employees' bonuses. Okay. Is there any reasoning at all beforehand? Any like prerequisite lore I need to be familiar with? Doesn't seem like it. Also, Herman Miller chairs I know are like the holy grail of comfort for people. Matt, for example, can't stop talking about Herman Miller chairs. But I've never seen nor tried one.
Service we can. Get our orders out our door. Treat each other well. Be kind. Be respectful. Focus on the future because it will be bright. It's not good to be in a situation we're in today, but we're not going to be here forever. It is going to get better. So lead.
So many platitudes so quickly.
Treat people well. Talk to them. Be kind and get after it. Don't ask about what are we going to do if you don't get a bonus.
Oh yeah, she's starting to get a little animated. She's literally just regurgitating the biggest fucking cliches of all time. Everything she said there was nothing but buzzword nonsense. Jesus Christ. It reminds me of that clip from that streamer who's like, Well, why don't we just throw ourselves off a bridge? The world is dying. The animals are leaving. And that's okay, because all we need is ourselves. And do you really need anything else? Or whatever. And then it goes into the Call of Duty montage. What was that speech again? That's up there with like some of the greats, like We Choose to Go to the Moon. I think it was Invader Vice. I think she was the one that said it, right? Oh, here it is. The planet is dying, the government hates us, the animals are leaving, the aliens aren't contacting us, we might be alone, but that's okay because do you really need anyone else? And then 30 Seconds to Mars starts playing. There we go, found it. I just didn't feel like getting DMCA'd by 30 Seconds to Mars. Jared Leto coming in.
Get the damn $26 million. Spend your time and your effort thinking about the $26 million we need and not thinking about what you're going to do if we don't get a bonus. All right? Can I get some commitment for that? I would appreciate that.
Damn, she's popping off.
I had an old boss who said to me one time,
she's getting upset.
You can visit Pity City, but you can't live there. So people, leave Pity City. Let's get it done.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Damn. Welcome to Shitty City, population Andy Owens. God, good lord. I mean, I think it's totally reasonable, like, hey, can we have our bonuses? And also, why do you get a huge bonus? It seems like she doesn't even have a reason for withholding bonuses or canceling them or whatever. She's like, yeah, there's no bonuses. She doesn't understand people can't even afford to live in Pity City. True, I guess. Not without these bonuses. I also love someone in her position pretending like she's out there making the chairs. Like, alright, it's time we bring ourselves up by our own bootstraps here and start really getting to work on those chairs, alright? We don't need to focus on these bonuses, we just gotta put our head down and do it. As if she's out there with like a fucking wrench and screwdriver. I'll play the Invader Vi clip, but I'm not playing the one with 30 Seconds to Mars. That is like a fast pass to DMCA. I'm not even fucking with it. Here, I'll give the OG original. Damn, I didn't realize this was like 4 minutes worth of monologue.
Faking these things, and that I'm psychotic, that I'm 88 motherfucker, even more into the blanket fort, and I think that we can do it together.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know that I can't do it by myself, because I come in here every single day, covered in glitter, covered in sequins, covered in booty shorts, covered in nylons, so that I do not violate the terms of service, so that each and every one of you can have both.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
So you can have a good time listening to me, playing with me, singing with me, smiling with me. You guys, a lot. I'm just throwing ourselves off a bridge.
Here we go, here it is.
What the fuck is stopping us from just throwing ourselves off a bridge and giving up and saying, yeah, the planet is dying.
Yes.
The government hates us.
Preach.
The animals are leaving. The aliens aren't contacting us. We might be alone. It just might be you and me. But that's okay, because do you really need anyone else?
And then 30 Seconds to Mars. Damn, that's a crazy speech though. Holy shit, she was in the zone. That was a flow state. I've never seen it in its entirety. I've only seen that ending. But why did she say all that? I don't know, man. I still don't know where the animals were going. There's just a whole lot to unpack with that speech. I've got a piping hot meal fresh out of the Olive Garden microwave straight to your dinner table here. This news is fresh off the press. The CEO of Twitch has announced that they're stepping down. Emmett Shear has been with the company at the helm for 16 years, apparently, and today has decided to move on. So he's quit his position and passed the torch. This is really interesting because it happens so soon after YouTube just experienced something very similar with Susan stepping down. Back to back, these two major companies had their CEOs walking off into the sunset together. I'm not normally conspiratorial, but perhaps there is some kind of correlation between all of the UFOs we've been sighting recently and now these CEOs stepping down. Maybe the Illuminati's making some plays for the shadow government. Things are getting very odd. But anyway, Emmett left us a blog post kind of detailing his 16-year adventure here at the helm of Twitch, and even made a Twitter post kind of going over it briefly as well. In October 2006, we started working on live video for the internet. That became Twitch. More than 16 years later, I'm now a father and ready to move to my next phase of life. I wrote a blog post, but the short version is, thank you so much to everyone who built this with me. I'd like to make note that this is probably the first time Emmett Shear has ever said a single word about Twitch on his Twitter account. I've said this a million times, but you would have no idea Emmett Shear is the CEO of a major company like Twitch if you didn't just look it up yourself. I bet you were even scratching your head when I said the name Emmett Shear. You're probably going, who the fuck is Emmett Shear? Is that like a NASCAR driver or something? Like, who's that? I bet most people were probably under the impression Twitch didn't even have a CEO. That position was filled by Amazon androids or something. Emmett Shear has been my poster child for the last couple of years for a CEO that is beyond out of touch with the company that he runs, and it really does convey the idea that he doesn't care about it. Again, he doesn't talk about it. He doesn't engage with it ever. He doesn't celebrate anything about Twitch. If you scroll through his Twitter, you'll never really find any mentions of anything going on Twitch. I imagine he probably doesn't even know 5 streamers that use the platform. Like, I've made this very clear. This is no secret. I've been very public that I'm not the biggest Emmett Shear fan. You're not going to see me heartbroken, curled up and crying over Emmett Shear no longer being Twitch's CEO. Right? I think he has been the most passive CEO of all time, and it's really felt like he is embarrassed of his position at this company. He doesn't talk about it ever. He is never at any of the functions. He doesn't know like half of the shit on his platform. I bet the reason he stepped down is because someone at the office might have accidentally like CC'd him on an email reminding him that he's the CEO of Twitch, and he's like, what? I'm the CEO of Twitch? Still? I thought I gave up this position 8 years ago. Oh, hold on, let me rectify this. So then he just put in his 2 weeks notice. Like, he just has not, in a long time, been active in the platform he is the CEO of. So, I haven't been a big fan. Obviously, the changes that Twitch have been experiencing over the last couple of years have been overwhelmingly fucking terrible and misguided, showcasing just how out of touch a lot of the higher-ups at the company are. So, you know, Emmett Shear stepping down actually kind of had me pumping my fist a little bit. And I know I'm not alone with that sentiment either. I saw a lot of people celebrating like they had just won the fucking Super Bowl, hoping that maybe this is the turning point for Twitch where someone new will step in that's more in touch with the community and will try and correct the ship here and lead Twitch down a better path than the one that it's currently traveling over the last couple of years. But unfortunately, all of that excitement soon turned to excrement as I continued to read. They did announce who the new CEO will be. And unfortunately, it's more disappointing than Season 2 of Promised Neverland. I think this was a big fuck up, but they've chosen to give this position to the current Twitch president, Dan Clancy. I think this is a bigger blunder than when Jeffrey Toobin masturbated on that Zoom call and lost his job. Like, this is so silly. Dan Clancy is kind of just like the bearer of bad news for Twitch. By far his biggest claim to fame and the biggest stain he's already placed upon the company even before becoming CEO is this. He was the brave warrior that proudly posted this. A letter from Twitch president Dan Clancy on subscription revenue shares. This post still lives in infamy and still haunts the platform and scares a lot of creators because we're actually coming up on the period that these changes are supposed to roll out and take place. This was the post where Twitch announced that they are going to be getting rid of the 70-30 split with partnered streamers that are on those deals. So 70-30 will no longer exist. The shares will go down to 50-50 across the board, and they will never go back to 70-30 ever. So it'll be 50-50 across all of Twitch for everyone, no matter what, making it the lowest shares on any streaming platform across the entire internet. Now, in order to make up for this, they doubled down on ads. Something everyone really loves, Twitch ads. The unskippable fucking 30-second ads that play when you click on a stream. Yeah, people love those, so you can imagine how great that news went over. Like, yeah, we're taking away 20%, but we're giving you more ads. So, they are going hog wild with their ad program, incentivizing creators to run more ads to make up for this difference now in income, and just pushing ads even further down the throats of everyone on the platform. This was by far probably one of the most controversial decisions Twitch has ever made, and I still, to this day, have not seen a single person come out in support of it, because Twitch is an Amazon-backed company. Amazon, of all companies, can probably afford to keep Twitch running. Without problem, I would imagine, especially considering subscription revenue is not the main driver of revenue for the platform in general. it was just extremely greedy to have that be the target, the first thing they target when trying to be more monetizable. Instead of focusing on other aspects of monetization, they immediately went right for the throats of creators by taking away something that had been established on the platform for like a decade now with that like 70-30 split shit. So this was a big deal. It is still a big deal because it's supposed to roll out within the next couple of months, and Dan Clancy was the one who announced it publicly. I don't know if he was the one that suggested the idea. I don't know how involved he was with the decision-making process with this idea, though as Twitch president, and from everything I've read, it seems like he's very hands-on with these kind of decisions and these policies. So I would wager a guess that he was very on board with this. Now, even aside from just this decision, people have talked about him over the last 8 or so months, kind of speaking to his character. A popular streamer named Jake and Bake actually got to meet him and had this to say.
I'm gonna be honest, dude, the president of Twitch, I'm sure personally, I have no problem personally with him. But honestly, I don't feel confident as a streamer on the platform with someone who is that out of touch.
Yeah.
What the streamers need and want.
Oh
very.
no!
I walked away feeling like depressed. Seriously, sad.
And it wasn't just Jake, a couple other people came forward as well, most notably DJ Wheat, who held a previous high position at Twitch. DJ Wheat said, Dan once told the company he relates with creators because he was involved in drama in theater clubs in high school. He's a good human, but I never felt like he was able to relate to creators and the struggles they face through every step of their career. Wow, gamers, he's just like us. He did drama in theater in high school. Woohoo! Yippee! That's my boy! It's crazy. Like, he didn't even bother to try and pretend to be like a gamer or anything, or like ever played games, at least according to this story and a couple other things I read. He focuses on like drama in theater as being like his relatability quirks. Amazing. Yeah. It doesn't seem great. In fact, I would argue this is a recipe for disaster. Dan is almost 20 years older than Emmett Shear. He's 59, and he doesn't have a Twitter account or much social media at all. Not that I necessarily think that in and of itself is a bad thing. I usually applaud people who don't have a Twitter account, because going on Twitter is like willingly sticking a cactus into your eye. But in a case like this where Dan is the CEO of Twitch, I feel like having a social media presence is extremely important, because where else are you going to be able to see the community's feedback on new features or changes? I don't think there's very many users on Twitch that are going to the support line in order to leave reviews or give you insight on how they feel about certain things. Most people are going to talk about all of this on Twitter or other social media platforms. So if you're completely absent from there, how are you going to see it? And I feel like being able to see these responses is integral to running the company in a healthy way and delivering features people want or making changes people want to see. At least that's just my perspective on it. Maybe I'm way off the mark and they have other means for Dan to get this kind of information from the community that I'm just not really thinking about. So either way though, I'm not super optimistic with Dan Clancy as the new Twitch CEO. I would, however, love to be proven wrong and Dan Clancy comes in here like an absolute rock star and knocks it out of the park. It's probably worth mentioning I have actually met him before. In fact, Matt and I have both met him. When we went up to Texas for a week to do like some wacky content, he was at one of the functions we were attending and introduced himself. And I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. Like, he was nice and seemed passionate about Twitch. The only thing that he really like asked me was if I play games. And I was like, yeah, I play games. And he was just like, that's cool. That was really kind of like the extent of our interaction. It was just really small talk things about like, yeah, Twitch is a place for gaming. You play games. Awesome. So I can kind of just vaguely speak to his character of like, he seemed very passionate about the platform, but I don't know anything else really about him. He seemed nice, I guess, but just being nice doesn't make you a good leader of the platform. So hopefully like maybe he has good intentions and has good ideas on ways to make Twitch better, because it needs some drastic improvement with the directions it's been heading. So I guess we'll see how all of that goes, but just wanted to talk about all of this because it's big news. That's about it. See ya. I make a lot of predictions. 9 times out of 10, they're wrong. Not proud of that, wish I was better at it, but, you know, I'm no Baba Vanga. because if I was, I'd have every prediction be wrong. So I'll take the occasional victory. And one thing that I predicted and have been proven right about time and time again over the years is that once you reach a certain level of status in any given industry, it is impossible to fail. You only fail upwards. Not exactly a prediction, more so just a hard truth where once you're an elite member of an industry, you can't get knocked down at all. It's impossible. It's like fucking Derek Zoolander, but instead of being unable to turn left, you're unable to go down. You're unable to like look downwards. You can only continue to fail going up the ladder. It's incomprehensible. It is a phenomenon that defies all logic. Why would someone who is bad at their job, a terrible leader that leads companies into financial ruin, just draining them of ham, like constantly just hemorrhaging money, bleeding out, why would that person continue to land new jobs in equal or higher power than their previous one? Anyone else who is bad at their job gets fired. They get let go. But not when you become like a CEO, a COO, or anything to that level. You just go to another company as a COO or a CEO. The perfect textbook example of this is still John Riccitiello. He was the CEO of EA for a little while. He rose to infamy when he pitched this absolute fucking heater of an idea. I'm talking galaxy brain like 5D chess move where he pitched the idea of charging gamers for ammo. So if you ran out of ammo in a Battlefield game, there'd be like a pop-up that would say you need to pay $1 for your next magazine. Like that was his idea. Like I don't think he was ever fully going to go through with that, but that was the example he gave on how you can constantly be like milking the titty of everyone who buys an EA product. He was too greedy for even EA, so he was let go and then landed a job at Unity. He became CEO of Unity, and I know you remember how disastrous that was because he nearly drove that company into the fucking ground. He nearly banished it to the Shadow Realm with how horrible his leadership was there. And there's plenty of examples of this. I still think he's the best. But why I'm talking about it today is because Disney just announced that it's looking at candidates for the CEO position since Bob is leaving again. And one of the people they're considering is the EA CEO, Andrew. They're looking at Andrew at EA. What in tarnation, why on God's green earth would you be putting your peepers on Andrew Goober Wilson for the CEO position of Disney? EA has been one of the most consistently hated companies in the world for over a decade now. If Umbrella Corporation was a real entity, it would probably have a better reputation than EA currently does. It is a company that no one likes, except for shareholders. So Andrew Wilson has done a good job at EA for shareholders and nobody else. And you know what Disney really needs right now? Is a good reputation with anyone that's not a fucking shareholder, because people are getting really tired of what Disney's been shitting out. They have been pooping out slop, and a lot of people are tired of the stink. They're tired of smelling the shit. So Disney, I don't think, is needing an Andrew Wilson, cartoon villain here that's going to... Andrew Wilson, the reason why I said he's good for shareholders is because the EA price under him has raised pretty significantly. But I feel like Disney right now, what they really need is some slam dunks in products and properties that people really start to like again, because they are missing that entirely. Star Wars, for example. Holy Lord, what a fart in the wind. Most people don't care about Star Wars at all anymore. Most people roll their eyes when it comes to Star Wars. Like, look at Outlaws. That was an open world Star Wars game. Of course, it did have Ubisoft on there, so it was already doomed for mediocrity out the gate. But nobody was hyped for Star Wars Outlaws. Like, there was a time when Star Wars was a guaranteed home run. Now, most of them are flopping. At least from what I can tell, like the Acolyte, that was what, $230 million budget, and it raked in, according to the most recent financial reports that I can find online, $46 million. So it lost like a total of $180 million. Like, come on, let's put on our thinking caps right now. It's not an issue of, oh my God, we need to start figuring out ways to nickel and dime the remaining customers we have. The solution is, how do we start making quality products again that people actually want to watch or purchase or get engaged in? Like, grow up. Like, God, Jesus. Andrew Wilson is not the solution to that problem. Andrew Wilson is not the one that people are going to be like excited for at the helm of Disney. People don't like him because people don't like EA. Now, to give credit where credit is due, I vaguely recall Andrew Wilson pushing back against some investor-led horrible ideas in a bad direction for some of the titles over the last decade or so. I'm foggy on the details, but I do remember reading about it a while back that he did actually make some decisions that I think it was something about like allowing the developers a little more creative freedom under the EA umbrella. Again, I don't remember all the details, but it's not like he's been nothing but mustache twirling evilness. But first and foremost, Andrew Wilson's priority is not good games. Never has been. It's been figuring out the live service model, because I believe it's 71% of EA revenue comes from live service games. So it's always been trying to figure out the way to maximally monetize every single person who sits down to play an EA game. And there have been some good games that have come out over the years, and even live service games like Apex Legends from them. But overall, and Apex Legends is unfortunately getting run into the ground in recent times, but overall, Andrew Wilson is not a CEO that I think anyone thinks of and looks at as someone who actually cares about delivering quality products. It's about delivering big returns to the investors first and foremost, and that's about it. And I feel like in Disney's current state, they need someone that actually wants to start pushing them forward into good shit again, instead of just the same recycled formulaic garbage that they've been doing for the last, I don't know how many years, but they've just been on autopilot for a little while, going through the motions, and now it seems like, you know, it's getting to that point where something's got to give. Like, they've got to start changing something, and they're looking at someone like Andrew Wilson to maybe be the leadership to do it. I don't think he is. I really don't. And in all fairness, this isn't really an example of someone failing upwards. I mean, he definitely failed in making EA a company that anybody respects. Like, EA is constantly spit on, but he hasn't failed in a financial sense or failed to the same degree as other CEOs like John Rizzitiello. So it's not failing upwards per se in this case, but it is still just weird to me how he'd even be considered for this position. Like, I don't understand why the pool of candidates is so small that you're always seeing the same names over and over again, even if they have a resume of stinkers. Another great example, and sticking on the Disney topic, is they have greenlit a new Star Wars trilogy, and they've already chosen who's going to be the writer and producer. It's someone named Simon Kinberg. And if that name rings any bells, it's because you probably still have trauma from his extraordinarily embarrassing pile of garbage that many consider to be one of the worst comic book movies ever made, Dark Phoenix, where he was the writer, producer, and director. Going through his entire catalog here, where he's only directed a couple of films, but he's been a writer and producer for a long time, it's more misses than hits. Like, XXX State of Union, I loved it when I was a kid. I don't know if it's aged well. But he also did X-Men 3, The Last Stand, another absolutely despised movie, but then there's something good in there with Jumper. There's the Sherlock Holmes movie, which some people liked, some people didn't. First Class, which was good. Then Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Oh my god, like, just look at this resume. Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four. Again, one of the comic book movies that people to date still believe is one of the worst ones. In fact, among like the top 5 worst comic book movies ever made, Fantastic Four and Dark Phoenix are on every single list. This is the Fantastic Four film from 2015 that had the number 4 in the name, not the like old one with Jessica Alba. And he was not only a writer and producer on both of them, but even directed one of them too. Like, his resume isn't very good. Like, the good movies that he's a part of, he's usually a producer on, not a writer-producer on. Was this really the best possible writer-producer they could find for a new trilogy of Star Wars films? I don't think so. I don't understand how someone that has a resume like that, with so many super stinkers like Dark Phoenix and Fantastic Four and a couple of others on there, get chosen to make something like this, the new Star Wars trilogy. Like, it's not like those movies that he'd written and produced were just received terribly by the audience. They were turbo box office bombs that lost the studios millions upon millions of dollars. Now, I do understand that he helped co-create Star Wars Rebels, which does have a positive reception from what I can tell. I've never watched Rebels, but I do know the name. But even still, if you look at his resume, I don't think this was necessarily the best possible choice to spearhead a new Star Wars trilogy operation. That doesn't really get me salivating thinking, oh, this could be like a good Star Wars new trilogy. Like, I just don't have that impression because I'm familiar with a lot of his work and most of it's trash. It just really seems like if you somehow break through to that level where you're a writer-producer on a Hollywood project, it doesn't matter what you do from that point forward because you will always still somehow be able to find work of equal or greater level. And I just don't get it. Because it's not like by merit or anything. It doesn't seem like, from what I can tell, Simon was the one that was like pitching Disney on this and they just really liked the direction, so they said, okay. It seems like it was Disney that chose Simon to write and produce for them. So, like, it's not like he did anything extraordinary, that he has a great idea and a great script and everything that Disney just had to buy. It just, I don't get it. I really don't understand how failing upwards is even a thing. And yeah, I just had to rant about this a little bit because I'm so tired of seeing like the same names that have been in the industries for so long and have done so many things wrong continue to get huge positions at companies going forward, because then there's nothing to be like excited about. Like for the future of Disney, if they choose Andrew Wilson, it's not like I think there's going to be some kind of drastic change. I feel like it's just going to be business as usual, but emphasis on the business, where Andrew Wilson's going to be prioritizing like cutting jobs, reducing staff, and trying to maximize monetization on like Disney Plus and all of that. Not exactly an emphasis on let's start making some really quality stuff. I could be wrong. I guess we'll find out if they go with Andrew Wilson, what direction he takes it. But it's someone whose work I am familiar with, and that is what he is known for. He is the shareholders' hero, but the gamer's pariah. Because nobody likes EA. It has a terrible reputation. So, again, he's not exactly an example of failing upwards per se, because he hasn't failed, but it does just, like, this whole topic is something I just wanted to speak on, because it is common for people that do fail at, like, a high level to continue to just keep getting more and more and more and more power and bigger positions. It's silly. So, yeah, that's really about it. So, yeah. Have you ever heard the expression, saying goodbye is the hardest part? Well, it doesn't apply in this case. Saying goodbye is the easiest part, and also the happiest. Because today we say goodbye to John Riccitiello. He's not dead, but his reputation and career might be. And it should be. He should never work in the video game space again. He is a plague that infects it with the greediest, most outlandish ideas ever, and fundamentally ruins any type of goodwill the companies could ever muster. He has a worse reputation than E. coli. John Riccitiello sucks. Point blank. No reason to beat around the bush. I made a video talking about the Unity situation a couple weeks ago. I never gave the update in a separate video, but I'll just go ahead and give it now. I've talked about it on stream. Basically, the big drama that led to all this is Unity published some changes to how they're going to be doing business going forward. Is extremely fucking greedy, extremely ridiculous. There was a ton of backlash, and a lot of developers were making the switch to competing game engines and just abandoning Unity because they could no longer trust them, obviously. So, Unity did what the electric slide taught them to do. One hop this time and take it back now. So, they walked back most of their changes and put forth a more reasonable proposal, a more reasonable policy change, where it would no longer be retroactively enforced, meaning any games that were made with the Unity engine prior to this new agreement are not subject to the new terms, the way it should be and should always be, as well as increasing the threshold that you need to reach to be subject to the changes and the fees and all that. Basically, they made a much more reasonable change. However, I don't think that exonerates them of the crime of cringe and greed. That was still an unforgivable sin that most people are still sore about, because they did that out of nowhere and had no problems doing it either. No hesitation. They just dropped that shit and said, toodles. And that was that until the backlash was simply too much. And then they reluctantly had to change it. Now, John Riccitiello isn't solely responsible for that policy change, that greedy direction Unity tried to go. There were a lot of moving parts there. Once again, I mentioned Upper Echelon made a video covering it, and I still think his video on the situation is extremely informative, so if you want to know more about the inner workings that led to something like that, I highly recommend checking that out. But John Riccitiello is still the CEO, or was the CEO of Unity at the time, thus a leadership position for the company, the face of it. So, with the decision this detrimental, this apocalyptic, the doomsday that was brought forth from Unity, someone needed to shoulder most of the blame, and naturally that's going to fall on your CEO, because that's kind of the face of your company. So John Riccitiello rightfully caught a ton of shit for that, and it seems today the decision to step down has been finalized, so he is no longer the CEO of Unity, which means he has done something unthinkable, something I wouldn't have ever imagined possible. He is a creature that was too greedy for EA, and now also too greedy for Unity. That's fucking mind-boggling. Almost impressive. Congratulations to John for making history here. For those that don't know, John, the money's gone Riccitiello, was previously with EA before Unity, and while there, he kicked around some pretty abominable ideas, such as charging per reload. His example was, you know, we need to strike while the iron's hot, and when someone's in the middle of a game and they're shooting against an enemy, they run out of bullets and they need to reload, we charge them $1 for that reload, and they won't be price sensitive at that point because they're going to want to finish off the kill. I'm paraphrasing it, but I'm boiling down the point in a nutshell. Fucking charging per reload, he was listing as a gold standard example of great microtransactions. He also famously called developers fucking idiots if they didn't focus on microtransactions in their games. He's just an awful guy. He is the worst thing for gamers, because he is someone that just wants to exploit the industry for selfish gain. But I'm not here to just keep talking about his past. Let's talk about John's future. Hopefully there is none in the video game space. I hope this is truly his last rodeo here with Unity. Why would you hire someone that keeps failing? His greed is insatiable, and it fucking sinks companies. Well, it doesn't sink them, like Unity and EA haven't gone anywhere, but it ruins reputations. Why would you want him in a powerful position at your company? It's incomprehensible, but I already know he keeps failing upwards. He shouldn't have been working in the video game space after his bout with EA. He should have never even made it to Unity, but he did. So, I have a sneaking suspicion John will continue to fail upwards, and he'll probably land a CEO position at fucking Ubisoft next. Like, he will likely be in another position in the video game space and finding more and more creative, degenerate ways to squeeze money out of the consumers, and that's just the cycle's going to continue. That's my prediction, but I hope I'm wrong. He's like a cockroach, and I don't want to see him in the industry anymore. He sucks. It's great to see that he's no longer with Unity. Maybe Unity can get their shit together, but as I said in the previous video, I don't think this means people should trust Unity going forward. I really don't. It's not like John was the only problem here that led to this decision. It had to go through many different people and many different layers of the big business onion before it went into effect. So, them getting rid of John doesn't absolve them of all of the sin. It doesn't get rid of the root cause of the greed. It's just one of the symptoms that they treated here. So I think it's important people remember that. Unity isn't blameless here. They're not innocent. Unity and everyone that's still currently there in a position of power did play a role in that initial policy change that was extremely greedy and exploitative. So yeah, just keep that in mind. I don't think we can all just start trusting Unity again just so quickly. But I am happy to see that John is no longer at the helm of the company. They've already appointed an interim CEO. His name is James Whitehurst. I'm not super familiar with him or his work, but I guess we'll see how all of that goes. John will continue to advise during the transition period, which isn't like abnormal or anything, so I guess we'll just see how Unity looks a year from now. Maybe it goes in a much healthier direction now that John's gone. Maybe his influence and his tendrils really spread deep at the company and infected a lot. And now with him gone, everything will be smooth sailing. That'd be nice, but yeah, we'll see. Just wanted to give a little update to this whole story here. That's about it. So yeah. Yesterday, the CEO of YouTube stepped down. Susan announced that she would be walking away from the company and would be taking on a smaller role at Google, and she'd no longer be the public face of YouTube, a face that has historically been treated like a toilet seat by the community. Susan has shouldered the blame for the majority of the things wrong with the platform, and rightfully so, I would argue. She's basically just been the community's spittoon. For any time there's something wrong, people just start spitting on her and accusing her of being the mastermind, the puppet master behind all of the bad decisions. Whether or not that's true, I have no idea, but she was the CEO, and there were a lot of things that needed fixing, never got fixed, and YouTube has been in a tumultuous state over the 9 years of her at the helm. However, this led a lot of people to believe that with Susan stepping down, things would magically improve. A lot of people were pessimistic, but then over the course of the night, I noticed a lot more people being like, this is great, the platform's gonna be saved, holy shit, now we can have fucking Captain Underpants come in here and bring about the golden age, or, you know, this and that. Because Susan's no longer there, I mean, she's going to have to be replaced by somebody great, was the perception a lot of people started to adopt. However, in the wise words of Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn, there's always a shittier fish. It was announced who the new CEO would be, and over the course of the night, people started to look into them. The new CEO is Neil Mohan, and Neil Mohan was previously the CPO of YouTube, the Chief Product Officer, and people found out that Neil Mohan was actually the one responsible for that huge push YouTube tried to make into the Web3 crypto NFT space. In 2022, this goofball proudly posted YouTube's most embarrassing update. It was a look at what's coming for the year, but what was really standing out to most people at the time was this ham-fisting of Web3, blockchain, and NFT shit. So Web3 opens up new opportunities for creators. We believe new technologies like blockchain and NFTs can allow creators to build deeper relationships with their fans. Spoken like a true asshole who owns 2 Bored Apes and thinks he's going to own the planet. Together, they'll be able to collaborate on new projects and make money in ways not previously possible. For example, giving a verifiable way for fans to own unique videos, photos, art, and even experiences from their favorite creators could be a compelling prospect for creators and their audiences. So basically, just trying his best to justify an inclusion of Web3 crypto NFT shit. I'm going to tell you right now, NFT is one of the yuckiest words in the human language right now. It is an acronym that elicits more pain than CBT, cock and ball torture. It's painful, and it's synonymous with scams. And this was during a time where NFT crypto scams were still rampant. It's not like this was before the huge wave of bad actors came in and ruined NFTs. No, NFTs have been a scam for quite some time, even during this time that Neil tried to push it to YouTube. So there was huge pushback, and I guess somewhere along the pipeline, some team decided to slap this idea down, because we got lucky enough to not have it come to YouTube. But now that NFT Neil's at the helm here, the one at the top of the food chain calling the shots, who's to say he won't dust off this little poop nugget here that's an absolutely atrocious idea? And maybe this time around there's not that rogue vigilante Batman to say, not on my watch, and decline the idea. He is, like, the leader now of YouTube. And it's a little concerning how hog wild he wanted to go with Web3 coming to the platform. So that is very, not great, and a lot of people are much more pessimistic now after learning about this. But it also gets even worse. As Chief Product Officer of YouTube, that means Neil would have also had a hand in removing dislikes. Now, I'm not putting this entirely on his shoulders. This was a decision made by a lot of people at the highest level of YouTube. But Neil, as the CPO, would have 100% had a say in it, and it's very possible that he was for the removing of dislikes, which is another huge problem. That is still one of the worst features, or really removal of a feature, YouTube has ever had, and they still haven't backpedaled on it. And with Neil at the helm, I'm very less optimistic about it coming back, since he was already in a position that likely played a huge role in bringing it to the platform in the first place. I see a lot of people misattributing this solely to a Neil idea, but I can find no information on him being the one that proposed it. He was just leading a team that obviously worked on it. So maybe there is a chance Neil was outspoken against it but overruled by his peers. I'm hoping that's the case. Like I said, there's a very easy layup here with Neil as CEO to immediately earn the trust of the entire community, and that's to announce that dislikes are coming back. Dislikes will be public again. If he did that tomorrow, he's like, listen guys, I'm a champion of the people here, I'm bringing back dislikes, this was awful, I don't know what we were thinking, we were drinking stupid juice at the office when we came up with this idea, it's coming back. If he did that, everyone would immediately rally behind him and be like, oh my god, YouTube could possibly improve, he's gonna listen to community feedback, this is great. But I'm not sold on that being in the realm of possibility ever. I'd like it to be, but after reading all of this about Neil, I'm starting to think he may have been a pretty important figure behind the scenes for some of the worst features that YouTube was toying around with. But again, this is speculation. He could come in and do an amazing job, and that's what I'm hoping for, but it is not a great start considering what he's publicly tried to bring to the platform in the way of fucking NFTs. Like that, the fact that he proudly posted about NFTs coming to YouTube and him wanting to be the one to spearhead the operation, that's just such a bad look off rip. Like that, you couldn't have started your reign as CEO in a worse way. It would have been better if his fucking nudes leaked. Like that's so much worse as being the guy trying to bring NFTs to the platform. Oh my god. But, again, it remains to be seen. He could come in here and knock it out of the park, really fix up YouTube, really bring it to a better spot. Hopefully that'll be the case. I'm going to try not to focus too much on his past and instead look more at his future here as YouTube CEO. So yeah, anyway, just wanted to talk about this just a little bit. That's about it. So yeah. PU, Borderlands movie is a big stinker. Everyone knows it. If you've seen the movie, I'm sorry. If you haven't seen the movie, I'm jealous. It's truly atrocious no matter how you spin it. Every possible thing you could ever hope to enjoy about a film is absent in the Borderlands movie. I think it's unanimously hated across the board. If you find me one human being that says it's a good movie, I'll find you a liar. But I'm not here to just shit on the movie again. I did plenty of that yesterday. I cleaned out my whole colon on Borderlands yesterday. Today I want to talk about the Take-Two CEO's response to the criticism, because it's not getting stellar reviews. There's not exactly glowing reviews. There's not a whole lot of enthusiasm behind what people are witnessing. And I'm using the word witness instead of watched because when you witness something, it's usually something traumatic, like some kind of tragedy, and that is very much what this movie is. So no one's happy about it from what I can tell, for good reason. It's just bad. And now good old goober Strauss Zelnick has spoken out about this, urging people to give the film a chance. Yeah, it may have debuted at a 0%, then finally up to a 3%, and then eventually even a 6%. Really fucking shooting to the stars there. But hey, don't let that cloud your judgment of it. You know, as Darman taught us, you can't judge a book by its cover. Go give the film a chance. Go waste your money on this movie, says Strauss Zelnick. Now, Strauss Zelnick is the Take-Two CEO, and he's no stranger to putting on the squeaky nose. But god damn it, this clown always finds a way to surprise me with just how delusional he is. When asked if the film's success or failure will make any meaningful impact on Take-Two, Zelnick said no. Financially, the film won't make a dent. And then he dropped to his knees in his private jet saying, "Give the film a chance." Let's give the film a chance. A lot of people worked really hard on it. The underlying intellectual property is phenomenal. The cast is amazing. I think the look and feel is really terrific. So let's see what audiences have to say. But to answer your question, no, the performance of the film wouldn't have a financial impact on us or on the franchise one way or another. I am certain Strauss Zelnick has never touched Borderlands in his life. If he ever even held a game controller, I bet that shit would burn his flesh like a vampire in the sunlight. The guy is just a corporate drone. He is this husk that has human flesh grafted onto it. He's just this being of greed. He doesn't know Borderlands. I doubt he's ever touched the game, and I'm pretty confident he hasn't watched the movie either. In fact, I'm more confident that he hasn't seen the film than I am confident that the sun will rise tomorrow. I also love how he mentions the cast being terrific. How out of touch can you fucking be? That's one of the biggest complaints about the film from everyone with eyes. The casting in this movie makes no sense at all. It's clear the bulk of the budget went with just getting A-list celebrities on board. And they probably had to pay out the wazoo for it because none of them really seem like they want to be there at all. So they probably had to fucking fork over fat doubloons like Scrooge McDuck here to get them to put their name on this pile of dog shit. It is an embarrassing movie, and the actors seem embarrassed to be in it. So they spent all of their money getting Kevin Hart, Jamie Lee Curtis, Cate Blanchett, Jack Black. Jack Black being the only one that tries at all in this film. Everyone else just like fucking sleepwalks through it. That is not something to highlight. It's very clear that the entire strategy for this film wasn't to make a good movie. It was to just try and sell tickets by having big names attached to it. It's the worst tactic ever. It's a certified how many times we have to teach you this lesson, old man moment. There are so many video game adaptations that have come before this that have proven infinite number of times now that this formula doesn't work. If you make an adaptation that doesn't pay respect to the source material and just doesn't even try, it doesn't work. It flops financially. The reception to it is bad. Like, look at the Halo show which recently just got canceled, or the plethora of old video game movies we can all point to over the last couple decades. I don't know what puppeteer is behind the scenes, the goddamn Illuminati over there, that keeps, like, infecting the brains of these Hollywood suits that are convincing them that the way to make adaptation successful is just by getting big name actors on board. Like, it just doesn't work, and they keep doing it. It's actual insanity. They spent $90 million on this star-studded cast for this $5 fart of a film that they produced here. It makes no sense. If you make a bad movie, it doesn't matter how much star power is behind it, it's not going to succeed. I don't know how that lesson hasn't been learned yet. Strauss also reached deep into his bag of tricks here to try and get more asses in the seats by playing the classic, come on guys, people worked really hard on this film, we should all support it. There's a bear shit in the woods, obviously there were some hardworking people behind the scenes on this film. Also, Strauss, since you really seem to care so much about the hardworking team here, you might want to look into why some of them didn't receive proper credit for their work. That's a bit suspicious, that's weird. But anyway, yes, there were people that worked hard on this movie, no doubt. But that doesn't mean that all of a sudden it's immune from criticism. It is not a good movie. And I would wager a guess that a lot of the people that worked hardest on this film were not the ones that were behind the scenes lobbying and pumping their fists saying, we need Kevin Hart in this movie. We need Cate Blanchett in this movie. Pay fucking hand over fist amount of money to get Jamie Lee Curtis in our Borderlands movie. I imagine there was quite a few people that were actually passionate about Borderlands that were probably fucking crushed with what they had to do on this film, because it's not like they were at the top of the food chain putting together these awful decisions. And I also imagine the VFX department was dreadfully overworked, like Hollywood has become so accustomed to doing here, because ultimately the visuals are really rough. And I never blame the VFX departments for that, because now I've become very well aware of just how cruel the industry is to that entire sector, and my heart actually breaks for them. So I imagine all of the hardest working people were the ones that Strauss doesn't know a single name of. It's so silly to try and deflect by calling in the wambulance about, like, come on, someone worked really hard on this, you can't be mean to it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It costs $15 to $20 per ticket to see this movie. That's a lot of fucking clams. And it's not worth it at all. And there's nothing wrong with talking about why it's not worth it. He then has the nerve to say that Take-Two is really selective about what games it turns into films, and says that the company doesn't want its imprint on anything unless it's superb. Really, Strauss? You would consider the Borderlands movie superb? This would meet that criteria? He then goes on to just reassure everyone that it's not core to them, you know, they don't need to be doing this because it doesn't have like a massive effect on them, like their bottom line or anything, so it'll probably maintain its approach to only doing so selectively in the foreseeable future. But this article did remind me that there is another project in the work here, a BioShock film at Netflix. If that didn't oh my god, I'm having a full-blown Porky Pig moment here out of pure disgust. If that didn't send shivers down your spine, I don't know what will. A BioShock Netflix film. Following the banger that is the Borderlands movie, what a recipe for success, huh? Who's counting the days, right? Like, get your calendars ready. I can't wait for that fucking thing to drop. That's gonna be a real heater. Throw out all your DVDs and Blu-rays and forget everything you thought you knew about cinema, because it's about to be redefined with the next fucking Take-Two film project here with BioShock coming to Netflix. Oh my bussy trembles in fear at the thought of how bad that might be. If the Borderlands movie is any indication of the quality coming forward, we're in for a real treat with the BioShock film. I'm already just preparing to be really stunned at how bad that one might be. They'll drop like the announcement trailer and it'll reveal that James Corden has been cast as a Big Daddy. It's just so weird to me how we're still getting horrible adaptations. The roadmap is there. We have seen so many good adaptations recently. Like, you can see that all of the success is right there, and they just out of spite choose not to follow that and instead just be like, no, we know better than fans of the property that we're adapting. In fact, we know the direction that people actually want to see it to make it accessible to all audiences. And then they do what they did 20 years ago when every adaptation was trash. Let's all point and laugh at the absolute floundering it's doing in the box office right now. It's open to $4 million so far. On a $100 million budget, that is super rough. Unsurprisingly, people aren't just blindly going to see it because of the A-list actors in it. They're not just zombies flooding in the door to watch this pile of shit just because those names are attached to it. It seems like you actually have to make a pretty decent movie too to get people to get in the seats. What an absolute clunker. 4 million is significantly lower than I would have ever imagined for this film, and I'm actually super proud that people aren't just going to see it just because of the title of it or the actors in it. It really isn't worth the time or money. So it's very reassuring to see that it's doing so poorly here, because it, under no circumstances, should succeed. It's purely a cash grab that isn't grabbing much cash right now. They actually would have made more money if they just compiled every cutscene from the Borderlands series into a movie and released it for free on YouTube. They probably would have made more off just the fucking AdSense from that, as opposed to this $100 million theatrical catastrophe. But yeah, don't listen to Strauss. It's not worth giving the film a chance. The movie's just bad. That's about it. See ya. Have you seen the Scentbird CEO? She does a podcast with her eyes closed to talk to spirits and said Hitler wasn't bad. What? The Scentbird CEO does this. Wait. I know Scentbird. Yeah, wait, you're right. The Scentbird CEO claims to be a spiritual medium. Or, sorry, not a spiritual medium, a spiritual guru. The co-founder of the Netflix for Fragrance, Mariah Nuraslamova, has been moonlighting as a spiritual influencer. Comments on extraterrestrials, The Matrix, and Hitler have recently attracted negative attention. Your teeth are not randomly crooked, there is a spiritual meaning. Every little aspect of the tooth is a map, right? This sounds beautifully unhinged. You see they found a cave on the moon? Oh, we got moon troglodytes now? That's pretty cool. This is the... I can't find the clips anywhere else right now, so right now, completely reliant on the YouTubers here to bless me with this info. I want to see these readings.
Version of the Matrix will be the default one. The 5th version of the Matrix is actively being incubated, and according to Maria, it's showing really good signs and is looking promising.
Now there is a new version of the Matrix that's being currently incubated. The 5th version of the Matrix.
Matrix 5?
That one is showing signs of really good promise, so...
Maria mentions having a direct...
Wait a minute, I need to go to her website. There's a Matrix 5 dropping? This is Maria. She is the CEO of Scentbird, which I think many of you have probably seen through YouTube sponsors. They were pretty big on influencer marketing, from what I recall.
So when you are inviting black into your body, you're not inviting demons, God forbid. You're not inviting evil into your body. You are inviting this moldable substance that contains all life inside, that contains all light inside, that contains the entire spectrum of everything.
Okay, so she's about to cast a hollow purple. I don't really care about that. Where did she do, like, the spiritual readings, like where she talks about Hitler and everything? I don't need to know about her curse technique.
I mean, I'm in the presence of an architect, of the Great Architects Council of Light, but sadly that
is big.
The case.
That is big.
Automatically crushed while listening to her guided meditation for an ultimate womb detox. And
whoa, an ultimate womb detox? Whoa, hey, hold on, I can use that.
Hello, my darlings, and welcome to Our Sacred Universe, a podcast where we meditate together.
I'm ready.
Today I wanted to offer you a womb healing practice.
Thank you.
Our womb space is where we deposit a lot of our hurt, a lot of our pain, a lot of our suffering. But a womb space, or if you will, our sacral space,
I have
something that everyone has.
I have nipples,
so
Greg. Can you milk me?
You If you haven't checked out my book yet,
no, hold on. I don't need the
out.
hashtag ads here. Just give me my womb needs a little bit of assistance here.
Keep breathing in and out.
Imagine I just have a full body orgasm from this.
Your breath to ground and center yourself. Invite the healing vibrations of the universe to enter the sacred space of your womb.
See, like, we skip a step. How do I invite the healing vibrations of the universe to fuck my womb or whatever? Like, what do I do? Like, how do I send out the distress signal? That's where these guided meditations always fall apart for me. Like, they make it sound like it's so easy that I can just call upon healing vibrations. Like, I'm not a shaman. Like, can you call it for me? Thanks, some membership buzz. Book a reservation. Yeah, what availability do the healing vibrations have in the universe? I imagine they're probably pretty booked up. Why are you detoxing your womb? It sounded helpful. If you're just tuning in, to give you context, this individual, Maria, is the CEO of Scentbird, which is actually a pretty big company, or at least it was. I don't know if it still is. And according to Chatter, the Scentbird CEO has found herself into some controversy because of this line of work, where apparently she was saying that Hitler wasn't bad through her spiritual guru sessions. And I'm trying to locate that, but I'm getting all, like, sidetracked here, going through these alternate branching paths in the visual novel. So I'm still looking for that, but it's such an interesting tangent. Big thanks to OperaGX for sponsoring this video. OperaGX is the browser you see me use every single night on stream. It's just my go-to browser, and it has so many features that I just really have come to know and love. Obviously, the one that I always preach about, because it's the one I'm most enthusiastic about, is the fact that OperaGX is not a resource hog like Chrome and other browsers. It is so lightweight but so powerful, and the GX mods that it offers are super fun, so you can really customize it to make it feel like your own and make it feel super unique. There's just so many things you can change and tinker around with. There's so many different ways of integrating extensions that you're already used to in other browsers to seamlessly transition them into Opera. They have the GX store. They just have so many features. The hot tabs killer, forcing things to go from flashbang into forced dark mode, so you don't have to go to a new website and then just get blinded by a bright light. It's just the best browser, in my opinion. So, big thanks to OperaGX for sponsoring this. You can download Opera right now for free by clicking the link in the description. The dark truth about coffee, it is a toxin that darkens your aura? What? Coffee is bad for your aura?
It also darkens our aura as it does. As it does so, as it works with our body. So it's almost like when coffee gets into your aura, it creates these little anchors or these little dots of itself. It's almost like it gives an energetic imprint into your body.
What?
And though that energetic imprint is kind of what causes an addiction, because it's gonna...
The energetic imprint is what causes an addiction, and it darkens our aura through that. How the fuck does it touch my aura?
When you evolve.
Okay.
Over time, what ends up happening to your soul is you accumulate more and more light in your body. So you grow and expand, and you grow and expand by accumulating more light and kind of releasing darkness, if that makes sense. Over here,
it makes so much sense,
a lot of
actually.
things in your life are dependent on how much light you can hold within your body, especially if you're on spiritual path. For people that are able to hold on a lot of light in their auric fields, their spiritual gifts open up. Their abundance channels open up. Their
abundance
talents open
channels?
up. Essentially, like their higher selves come through, and then the body is considered clean, so your higher self is willing to inhabit more of your physical body.
What is happening?
And therefore, you will always have connected. You become a channel.
That's a lot to process. She's blowing the lid wide open on what it means to be alive. Your higher self gave you this name for a reason. I mean, it's my dad's name. Is that the reason my higher self gave it to me? These are so interesting. I'm never gonna find the video where she's apparently talking about Hitler. I'm just gonna keep going down these wacky fucking titles. Why did my higher self name me Charles?
Hello, my darlings.
I feel like it's because it's my dad's
This
name.
is Maria. The topic for today, Maria.com.
All right, the mystery of the name. This is kind of a fun topic.
It's not a mystery.
That is
It's
what
just
we're
not a
diving
mystery
into.
for like most people.
I don't think it would be vowels and the consonants in the name, through the letters in the name. Connects you to certain aspects of universal flow, universal energy, if you will.
Huh?
And because you're so attached, in a good way, to your name, you have a claim over those energies.
Okay, I claim all of the energies of C-H-A-R-L-E and S. No one else can have them. That's my domain now, and I'm kicking everyone else out. Eliminate pain and heal a specific organ or part of your body. Teaching you how to use the Force. Are you a star seed? Yes. One thing that did come up, though, is called the Karma of Atlantis. It's time to release it. Here's how you can do it right now. Like, raise Atlantis myself? I can do that?
Favorite YouTubers have promoted a brand that normally wouldn't show up on my scam/problematic radar scanner.
Scentbird.
Scentbird
Yeah, I
is
told you it was a big
huge
thing.
subscription
Told you that.
company that at least outwardly, because the CEO of Scentbird, Maria Nerizlamova, stinks.
Our bodies choose to miscarry children.
Oh.
It's not an accident that happens. It's a choice. If people were to align with their life purpose, we would see a lot less cancer on planet Earth. You could heal yourself from any disease. I don't care if it's cancer. I don't care if it's AIDS. It could be whatever. But you could heal yourself in the span of under 7 days.
We're going to talk about the spiritual reasons for being overweight.
Like, look at Hitler. He's one of the poster children for, like, being an evil person. Do you know how many millions of souls benefited from learning from the experience that he has created? So is he evil? Not really. I don't think so.
Wow, Maria. Those spiritual sessions are sending you down the loony path.
A lot of hidden agendas by the powers that be. And those hidden agendas remain hidden because there is not enough heart space energy in humanity to be able to bring them to light. The heart energy is always the energy of light. The heart energy is always the energy that essentially you emanate your energy from the heart. The heart is one of those energies that if your heart is activated internally, you can heal your whole body in a matter.
I will say, if your heart isn't activated, you're probably not watching this video in the first place. You are dead. Most likely. Bearing some, like, very fringe cases.
That is the power of the heart. It changes your internal ecosystem and it changes your external ecosystem. It just does. It is meant to. It is.
Well, who knew? Who knew? It's like breathing techniques from Demon Slayer, but for your heart. It can do anything. It's just like a bunch of gobbledygook. This is like, there's nothing that binds these statements together. It's just like a random assortment of words that have no real meaning. This is the problem when I'm looking through pages like this. I get so distracted by so many cool titles. She has one here called Babies Control How Long Their Birth Is. Like, this is unhinged. God damn it.
That's why certain births take so long, is in the state of resistance. If the baby's in a state of fear, if the baby doesn't want to access their masculine energies, the birth process is going to take longer. That's why someone...
Wait, what? The baby doesn't want to tap into its masculine energies, so it doesn't want to be birthed? What the fuck? The baby comes out like scoops of, like, creatine. What in the world? Shit's not even born in amniotic fluid, it's just like a bunch of, like, trin. What is this? What is she talking about? This isn't even spiritual.
I have a hard time answering the question about evil because there is such a big gap between how humanity perceives good versus evil and how, you know, even beings in the seventh dimension perceive.
The seventh dimension? Who's in the seventh dimension?
Higher self perceives.
Glorbus? Like, who are you communicating with in the seventh fucking dimension?
Stepping back. Let's say your higher self wants to understand murder.
Should be easy
It's just
to understand.
A fascinating subject for your higher self.
Okay.
If it wants to understand murder,
Jesus Christ.
the angle. So your higher self may choose to come as a victim, as the mother of the victim, as the father of the victim.
Why?
As the teacher of the victim.
Why would it want to? So, based on what I've gathered, very limited exposure to her spiritual guru benevolence, it seems like she believes you are the product of your higher self wanting to be experimental. So when something bad happens, it's because your higher self is trying to learn about it. So here, she's using murder as an example. So if you are someone who gets murdered or associated with the victim of a murder, it's because your higher self wanted to be in that position. It was all predestined because your higher self wanted to be present for it, to learn about it. Which is the dumbest idea ever. That's actually the stupidest fucking idea.
And by the way, like, look at Hitler. He's one of the poster child children for, like, being an evil person. Do you know how many millions of souls benefited from learning from the experience that he has created? So
the
here,
world serpent has awakened.
You know,
like tier 1
look
hell
at
and Goldie.
A character like him and be like, oh, he's completely evil. And upstairs, his experience was the greatest, one of the greater, you know, sources of knowledge of, you know, of 3D planet Earth warfare.
3D planet Earth warfare.
And that is benefiting so many different souls on their.
This is a very interesting take, Maria. So there's a lot to unpack there, Maria. There's a lot to process. The healing vibrations of the universe have not been kind to her frontal lobe. Wow, that's interesting. That's very interesting.
Evolutionary path. So is he evil? Not really. I don't think so.
So interesting. So just it means that some higher selves choose to take this path, and it seems like it's maybe a bit less desirable than other ones because we don't have that many murderers and mass murderers especially, right? But they still choose to do so for their own development. Like,
well, do you want me to give you an even better example?
Yeah.
That was an incredible example,
Do you think
Maria.
playing World of Warcraft is evil because you're killing things?
Like in a computer game,
yeah.
People don't think it's evil, yes.
I know. Same logic. It's a computer game from higher self level. Like, fine. Like, I don't know. Any of those
Same logic. Yeah, killing goblins in World of Warcraft is the same as Hitler for the Holocaust. You hypocrites. What an interesting character she is. Her higher self has very much done her a great justice. Her enlightenment is astounding. She's trolling. I don't know, she has a whole career based out of this, and apparently you can even pay for these sessions privately. But her main hustle is Scentbird, which again is a pretty popular product, or at least it was for a little while. She's the CEO of it, or at least was.
RPG games, I think RPG is what they're called, right? Like where you like go and like murder, you know, all kinds of beings.
They're not beings.
Sunday,
they're
with
pixels.
All kinds of weapons, and you're like, I need this strength and I need this skill, and let me have this gun, and I want a bigger gun and even more bullets and blah blah blah. I mean, you go in, you may have murdered 1,000 beings.
They're not beings. They're not real.
And then you go on your merry way, and nobody's pointing a finger at you at work and being like, this is a mass murderer. But how is that any different? So that's what I'm
That's
saying.
so
like,
good.
What you perceive as
oh
evil
my god.
is not the same experience. Now, you as an avatar, right? You as a person who chooses to play a game, you choose what game you want to play, right? Like, you may go and play Candy Crush. You may go.
She's so fascinating. Like she's dangerously stupid. Like, actually stupid to a level where it could be harmful to people around her. Like, there's nothing wrong with being, like, harmlessly dumb, but when you start to cross the threshold, the event horizon that she is, she's to the point where, like, she is actually probably a threat to the safety of those around her. Yeah, like, even her co-host is laughing at that. Alright, we don't have to continue down this rabbit hole. I'll stop. This kind of shit, though, is always just so interesting to me. The co-host is her husband, who is also co-founder and CPO of Scentbird. That must be a great relationship. Honey, I'm gonna have a cup of coffee. And Maria comes out, no! Slaps the coffee mug out of his hands. It's gonna darken your aura! Remember what happened when you killed that level 6 thug in World of Warcraft? You're just like Hitler! How far would you go to be the best? the number one in your industry. You've got to be willing to put everything on the line. And today's story is about a man who did just that. A man with dreams to be the number one bouncy castle business. He wanted to be the jumping castle god. But unfortunately, he flew a little too close to the sun and his wings burned up. Well, not really his wings. He just burned up every business that also sold jumping castles. He committed a series of arson attacks on rival bouncy castle businesses. His name is James Balcom, and he looks like a silly character you'd make with a Dark Souls character creator. He's currently serving an 11-year sentence for all of this, and I just found the whole story so wild. I legitimately feel bad for all of the rival businesses because a few of them lost their entire business to his arson attacks. So there were very real victims and very real trauma from it, from having their literal place of work be lit on fire and fucking incinerated by this madman, this lunatic. So I wanted to go over this story here because it's a weird one. Did you see the video on Melbourne's bouncy castle king that was jailed over a string of fire attacks on his rival bouncy castle businesses? Oh my god, what? Anderson threw a Molotov cocktail through a smashed window at a business, causing a huge blaze that engulfed the factory and destroyed 110 jumping castles. And it looks like he's going to jail. And it looks like he's done quite a few of these. This is very interesting. This happened last month. You've been holding out on me? Why didn't you tell me about this? Jumping castle operator jailed over arson attacks on Melbourne rivals. James Balcom set on destroying rival businesses that if one fire caused minor damage, he commissioned another. Wow. He desired to be the number one in Melbourne's jumping castle game, and had seen him jailed for up to 11 years over a series of arson attacks. What a crazy thing to commit your life to, being the number one jumping castle guy. The whole bouncing castle cartel. It's so weird. It seems like most often the most unhinged business people are the ones in like the children's entertainment center or sphere. Like the bouncy castle guys running like an arson unit to take out competitors. Surprised this isn't from Florida. Fucking true. Amen. I am almost disappointed it's not from Florida, if I'm being honest. The County Court of Victoria heard that Balcom, whose company Awesome Party Hire was ranked number one on Google after he commissioned the attacks on rival businesses, was arrested after he ordered that his own shed be torched. Galaxy Brain covering his tracks. No, I'm not the one behind the arson attacks. Look, someone lit my empty shed on fire last night. We have to put a stop to fucking Firefly ASAP. Please, God, anyone, the Human Torch has gone loose. He's rogue. Only way to stay on top. I would argue the only way to stay on top is to legitimately be the best jumping castle business as opposed to the only one that's not lit on fire. For example, let's say I'm in the market for getting some bouncy castles and I really want high quality product. I'm checking Google and Awesome Party Hire's number one. But then I scroll down and it says like all of the ones underneath it are literally cremated. I'd be like, this is fishy. I'll just get a bigger birthday cake. Fuck the castle. I feel like there'd just be like a very big red flag if that is the only jumping castle business that's left standing. 3 days after a March 2017 fire, Anderson was arrested and subsequently named Balcom as the instigator of the blaze and the attacks on rival businesses. Oh, so this has been going on for a while. Balcom, 58, appeared on Thursday by video link from prison in the county court where he was jailed for up to 11 years. Balcom has already served 2 years and 5 months and will be eligible for parole after 7 years and 10 months. Damn. They got him. I really am imagining like a Godfather situation. Like, it really seems so fucking intense in the bouncy castle game. You come to me on the eve of my daughter's birthday party and light my bouncy castle business on fire. You got some nerve. It's a dirty game in a cruel world. Yeah. It's not easy to put a smile on the face of children. It comes at a cost. And that cost is fire and flames. They're bouncing on the backs of the corpses of other bouncy castle businesses that came before them, and they don't even know it. It impacted the lives, livelihood of others and caused significant loss, suffering, and emotional trauma. Yeah, I mean, yeah, arson will do that to you. One business was targeted 3 times. At that point, just hire full-time firefighters on standby. That is so interesting. What does he look like? I want to look him up. Oh, wow. This... I imagine you also got an image in your head of some, like, lunatic-looking guy. I'm just going to tell you right now, he looks exactly like the image you have in your head. This looks like an AI-generated arsonist. What the fuck? It's always the people you least expect, I suppose. Jesus. Why is his head so pointed? I don't know, man. I didn't create him in the Street Fighter 6 character creator. I have no idea. I didn't work on these sliders. He got done dirty, though, I'll tell you that much. God, this is so powerful. You became very successful in the jumping castle industry, but you also became completely fixated and obsessed with it. It consumed your every waking moment, Court Judge Stuart Bales told Balcom. You became the Dark Knight. You fell right into the Joker's palms. You're better than this, James. Gotham deserved more. Is that a mugshot? Yeah, he's already served 2 years of his sentence. So this must have been when they brought him in. They probably had to drag him kicking and screaming out of his bouncy castle. 110 jumping castles ignited and lost in an instant. Jesus, they lost their entire business from that. This morning when I got up, a buddy of mine gave me a late Christmas gift. Santa Claus must have forgot this one in the bag, but he sent it to me. It was a clip from Madam Web, a clip that I had already scrubbed from my memory. It's where she's edging a Pepsi can for like 5 scenes in a row. So she's like fidgeting with it, she's caressing it, fondling it, playing with the tab on it, and never actually opens it. And this goes on for like 2.5 minutes or something like that, where many scenes back to back to back, she just has this Pepsi can and she's just like she's doing a fucking secret handshake with it. Narratively, the reason she's doing that is because she wanted a beer. So the natural human reaction in not getting a beer and getting a Pepsi instead is to then start groping your Pepsi can for 2.5 minutes like an absolute lunatic. And it reminded me not only of how horrible Madam Web is, but also how we got to this point, with Sony Pictures CEO Tony Vinciquerra just being a delusional imbecile. A few days ago, he came out to publicly defend and deflect for the Sony lack of Spider-Man Spider-Verse, where they produced these films for Spider-Man villains that took them and made them into basically what ChatGPT thinks heroes are. And these films have not been received well. It's been flopping more than when I take my cock out of my shorts to tinkle. It has been nothing but embarrassing movies that they have produced. And Tony Vinciquerra can't wrap his head around why they're not performing well. And it just showcases that the leadership at these massive companies is so out of touch that it's sickening. The reason they're not performing well should be obvious. Because the movies are bad, and it's things nobody wants. Even conceptually, this formula that they tried to cook up here is just dog shit. It's a recipe nobody wants to eat. You're taking Spider-Man villains, hold the Spider-Man, and turning them into heroes. Not even anti-heroes, but in the lamest possible way, like CW-level hero slop. It makes no sense. I don't know who it's for. Out of all of the Sony lack of Spider-Man Spider-Verse, the only ones that have at least done decently in the box office are the Venom films. And it's not like they're amazing movies, but they're significantly more entertaining than the others that they've pumped out. The Morbius, the Craven, the Madam Web, you know, all that. Like, Venom has worked to a certain extent because it's at least silly fun, at bare minimum. The others are a tedious chore to sit through. It's more stimulating to listen to a lecture on ATP in an anatomy and physiology course than it is to go see a Sony lack of Spider-Man Spider-Verse film. And Tony Vinciquerra is just deflecting. He can't understand why they're not doing well because he doesn't think they're terrible movies, and he blames the press for it. Highlighting the box office disasters this year for them with Madam Web and Kraven the Hunter. Kraven the Hunter, in particular, has underperformed beyond your wildest possible expectations of what underperforming could even look like. Whatever you thought was possible for dog shit in the box office, Kraven the Hunter has exceeded. And Tony, he knows that. He described Kraven as the worst launch that Sony has had since starting its Marvel franchise. And then also added, so that didn't work out very well, which I still don't understand because the film is not a bad film. Tony, come back to reality, man. Not only is it a bad film, but no one wanted to see it in the first place because it is a company that has a reputation for pumping out bad movies in this genre. And it's also a movie about a Spider-Man villain that doesn't have Spider-Man in it, so why are people going to go watch the villain be the hero? It doesn't... Who is this for, Tony? It's not for you because you're not watching it. I know you haven't seen this movie, Tony. Don't you ever lie to me again. Don't you ever tell fibs. Liars go to hell, Tony. So stop it. Cut it out. You haven't seen this movie, because if you did, you would know exactly why it hasn't done well. It's a bad movie. It also didn't help that the director of Kraven had to come out and publicly beg people to give the movie a chance. That is so sad, like begging people to show up to your birthday party. The director's saying people have got to give us a chance and come out and support this film and literally try to wash away some of the other stuff that's happened. Give our film a chance. Even acknowledging shortcomings in this fucking lack of Spider-Man verse. And anyone who was suckered into this by the director pulling on their heartstrings, well, you know what they got rewarded with? A bad movie! Kraven sucks! It's not good. Anyone who went to see it wasted their money and time with seeing it. It's better than Madam Web, though, but that's the lowest possible bar you could ever set for something. And Tony actually had some very interesting words about Madam Web. Madam Web underperformed in the theaters because the press just crucified it. It was not a bad film and it did great on Netflix. For some reason, the press decided that they didn't want us making these films out of Kraven and Madam Web and the critics just destroyed them. Tony, Madam Web is a pile of shit with fart on top. I don't expect him to come out here and be like, look, we know this is trash. We know the movie's trash. I don't expect him to do that. But he can at least have some dignity here and throw away the delusion for a second and be like, oh, these movies underperformed and we need to take a step back and understand that maybe we weren't delivering the quality that fans would expect from these properties. Like, that's a classy way of handling it, as opposed to just saying, it's all the press's fault. The press, for some reason, just had it really out for Madam Web and Kraven. We created masterpieces, but the press, they crucified it. No, man. People with eyes crucified it. It sucks. You didn't watch Madam Web. I know you didn't watch it, Tony. Because if you did, you would know what everybody who was subjected to this torture knows. It's boring, and it is a movie where, like, actually nothing happens. It's terrible. It became a huge meme because of just how terrible it is. Oh, man, that was the guy that was with my mother when they were researching spiders right before she died. Like, that became a huge meme. It's bad in every possible department a movie can be bad in. The action, for how little there is in here, there's like 2 scenes of action, is horrible, where like the ambulance crashes through that building at one point, and it's going to miss the main villain. I don't even remember who the villain is. I don't remember his name or anything about him. I just remember this scene where the ambulance is crashing through a building, it's going to miss him, so the villain jumps in front of the ambulance so it'll hit him. Every part of this movie doesn't work. That is why Madam Web didn't do well. Not because the press had it out for Madam Web for some reason. It's just not a good movie. Tony just loves passing the blame and has the convenient excuse of the critics and the press. They also did it with Venom, but the audience loved Venom and made Venom a massive hit. These are not terrible films, they were just destroyed by the critics and the press for some reason. Now, there has never been a time in history where people have less faith in critics than now. So I promise you, it doesn't matter what the critics are saying, it's not really going to change how people feel when they leave a movie. In fact, a lot of times, people will go see a film in spite of how much they distrust the journalists that cover it. This is not an excuse that works. Like, I fucking can't stand, like, IGN, for example. But if IGN said Venom was the worst movie ever made and I go see it and I like it, I'm not going to let that IGN review change the way I felt about the movie. This is a stupid scapegoat that you're trying here, Tony. Now, of course, I do still believe that sometimes reviews, if they're just overwhelmingly negative, will scare some people away from seeing it, and those people will be more reserved and wait to see what others say. But I think in cases of like a superhero movie, the people that are planning to see it are the same ones that are probably going to already distrust the critics and the press and what they say about a film. The big thing is no one wanted to go see these because they're not interested in seeing them, and they already knew that they were likely going to be bad. Completely regardless of what the press was already saying about it. Now, in the case of Venom, Venom is also not an amazing movie. There is not an amazing movie in the Venom trilogy, but that trilogy is at least fun. There's action, there's charm, there's comedy that works from time to time. So those movies are entertaining to watch. Craven, Madam Web, Morbius, those movies are a slog. They are a chore to sit through. It's a punishment if you have to watch one of those. Like, it's not comparable. It seems like they're finally throwing in the towel for this strategy that just has not been working at all, saying, I do think we need to rethink it just because it's snake bitten. If we put another one out, it's going to get destroyed no matter how good or bad it is. Again, that's just hope you haven't made a good one yet. Like, that's the problem. Tony just being all pathetic about it and pouting. You know, even if we made a masterpiece, everyone's just gonna call it stinky anyway. Like, brother, you just haven't made anything good. It's also a bad idea that you tried in the first place. Look, man, it didn't work. Move on. But stop trying to push the blame onto the way the press reacted to the bad movies. Anybody that watched them will say the same thing about them, that they just weren't good. Like, Craven and Madam Web are two of the worst movies of the year. But anyway, though, the reason I'm talking about Tony is because it's a good insight into the people that lead these massive corporations and just how far from the public consciousness they are, where he is with a straight face saying that the reason Madam Web and Craven are failing isn't because they're bad movies, because they're not. It's just because of the press. That's so delusional. They are just not good movies. Again, I don't expect Tony to come out here and eat a mouthful of ass on it, being like, yep, these movies are garbage. I just expect him to just be more honest about it and say, like, hey, looks like you guys weren't responding super positively to these films, so we're going to re-strategize this approach to this universe. Like, that's, like, you're acknowledging that people don't like them without making excuses for it, and you're talking about how you're going to go forward and hopefully learn from this failure. But in today's day and age, there is no such thing as a CEO that gets it. It's just like Ubisoft here, constantly doing the same shit and wondering why it's failing without ever taking a moment to see the root cause of what's causing the failure. That's exactly the street Tony is walking right now. The Ubisoft path. But with terrible, no Spider-Man movies that he's pumping out. I am curious to see what they plan to do going forward now, though. Honestly, they should just sell the rights. Like, they clearly cannot use it very well. I think it is about time they just fully throw in the towel and call it quits on it. But regardless, even if they do continue this path going forward, not going to bother me much because I like bad movies. But unfortunately, almost all of these haven't been fun bad. They've been waste of time bad, which is the worst kind. But I guess we'll see what happens next for Sony Pictures here in this universe they've built up. That's really about it. So yeah. How the fuck is it going, everyone? I'll go ahead and acknowledge the elephant in the room. That Lubriderm lotion right there is not for masturbating. I use it for my hands. I just forgot to take it back to the bathroom, and I just now noticed it when I started up the recording. Anyway, what we're here to talk about today is Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford and the hot water he finds himself in. Randy Pitchford is the CEO of Gearbox, aka Borderlands Studio, because that's the only good game they make. Good. I'm not even a fucking fan of the series, but I can acknowledge that it is a good series. But anyway, Randy Pitchford finds himself in some hot water, some real hot diarrhea water. He's getting sued for a bunch of different shit that I'm not really going to talk about because it's not super important to the story, but I need to talk about him getting sued because it is important to what we're about to talk about and listen to. Randy Pitchford's going to tell us a story, like a beautiful little school teacher telling us a great story, except Randy's story is about weird porn. But anyway, in the lawsuit, it's alleged he had a USB stick of underage porn on it. And he goes on a podcast the day after this lawsuit comes out and talks about his USB stick of porn. He claims it was of-age porn, barely legal porn is what he called it. And I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to listen to this guy's fucking disgustingly weird story, and we're going to reflect on it together. But I don't know what kind of fucking caveman carries around porn on a USB stick, nor how he could ever think it'd be a good idea to go on a podcast the day after these claims come out and corroborate that, yeah, he had a USB stick of porn, but it was for the purpose of magic tricks.
I'll carry my work around on a memory stick. And now today, I have these crazy encrypted memory sticks that have like, you have to punch in passcodes.
Because if I had one of your memory sticks and I knew about stuff, I assume that...
The name of this podcast is the Piff Pod, and based on this one episode I've listened to here, I hope you like interruptions if you listen to these guys. Holy shit. If you thought the official podcast had a lot of interruptions, you have not seen shit yet. This is the final boss of interruptions. Randy Pitchford could barely manage to get a full sentence out without being interrupted. Even the female co-host had to constantly say, stop interrupting him, get back to the story. Because this guy that keeps interrupting him just keeps going on these awful tangents that don't even lead to like a good joke or anything, and they're so long and completely derail the story and the conversation. I bet Randy Pitchford probably couldn't even get a full urine stream into a urinal at this place without this man busting into the bathroom and pinching the tip of his dick close so he could talk about something and then let him go back to peeing. This man interrupts everything Pitchford does and says. Holy shit.
I had some so I was one night I was watching cam girl pornography. Have you ever watched, do you know what cam girl pornography is?
Is that the interactive one?
Yeah, there's what you do is you can get a webcam and you point it at yourself, and people will watch the video of this while they'll egg you on by giving you money, basically, as you take your clothes off and eventually
they give you money?
Well,
I like how he's pretending he doesn't know, as if he's not watching cam girl porn every night. I might have heard of cam girl porn once or twice. That's that degenerate one, right, where it's like interactive or something. Oh, what, you give the girls money? Oh, that I would not. Who's giving girls money? I would never do that just so they could like say my name while putting a butt plug in their asshole. I mean, what are you talking about, Randy? It's weird.
And I just discovered this, and I was just fascinated. Like, what the fuck? Like, when I was a kid, you paid a bum $5 to go buy you a pornographic magazine from the liquor store. Like, right. That's how I got access to pornography when I was a kid. So like, and you know, and I had a teenage son, so I was like, this is fascinating.
You know, I really just don't understand your point with that right there, Randy. I have a teenage son, so I was watching cam girl porn because I have a teenage son, obviously.
And this one is just like, I can't quite make sense of what the little thumbnail image is, so I'm looking into it. And it's a woman who is masturbating, and when she has some experience that appears as if she's having an orgasm, a huge amount of fluid comes out of her vagina. She has some kind of an explosive orgasm.
Hey, Jay.
This is not a sex worker. This is a fucking magician.
Honestly, that's a pretty profound statement right there from Randy, and I'd be lying if I said I haven't said shit similar when watching porn, like, damn, this girl is a wizard with cock. But to go the extra mile and claim that I was watching the porn to figure out if she was an actual wizard of penis, it's a bit of a stretch, but Randy really doubles down on the idea that he really needed to figure out if this girl was a big shot magician. It's a fucking crazy story. I hope you're buckled in.
And so apparently what you can do is they make videos and they sell them. And so I purchased one of her videos. I wanted to watch this.
You wanted to work out the method.
I wanted to work out the method, but it was late, so I copied it over to this memory stick.
But why? Why would you do that? If you're already watching this cam girl squirting, I'm assuming you're watching this in a safe location to be watching porn. You're not on a subway, in an airplane, at a Starbucks, or anything like that. So why would you copy it to a USB stick? You copy shit there if you want to take it somewhere. Where are you taking this porn? You bringing it over to your parents' house to show them? You bring it to your kids to show them? Where are you taking this? Do you take it to work with you? Is that what a Gearbox CEO does? Is that why Gearbox is such a shit video game company and pumping out shit stinkers? Because the fucking CEO of Gearbox is just jerking off in his office, bringing in porn on USB sticks?
I go on my way. It turns out it was a magic trick. Like she's like it's a combination of camera work and sleight of hand. And I never saw like a turkey baster or whatever it was that she was using to deliver the fluid.
goods, yeah.
But there was some method here that was like, oh my God, this is genius. It was super clever.
Oh, Jesus Christ, calm down there, Randy. Don't break the magician's code and reveal how the trick was done. You need to calm down there. You do not want to piss off the Cam Girl Magic Society. I just love that his excuse for downloading it was that he was trying to study the magic behind it, like the art behind it. I fucking love that excuse. I could already see that working growing up. No, Mom, you don't understand. I'm watching this to learn. I'm trying to study magic. You don't get out of my fucking room. It's also a little sad that when you break this down, Randy watched a cam girl squirt and he was so unfamiliar with squirting that he thought the only logical explanation was he was being deceived. It was magic. Like, he is so unfamiliar with a girl squirting or having an orgasm that he couldn't believe it was real and had to go out of his way to break it down and figure out how she cheated and used magic.
The memory stick somehow no longer was in my possession.
Oh, God.
And it was discovered, it was actually at a Medieval Times. Apparently some kid, an employee of the Medieval Times, and discovered secrets of my company and future games in development, and also discovered the pornography. It was barely legal porn. Like this girl's handle was only 18.
I had to splice the shit out of that audio to make that like a cohesive storytelling there. Because Randy Pitchford was constantly interrupted by that fucking co-host who kept going off on like 2-minute, 3-minute tangents about the Medieval Times and then asking what he had on his shirt and asking why he likes the shirt. It was frustrating to put that together, but in a nutshell, he had it on the USB stick. He left it at a Medieval Times because everyone carries their porn stick to the Medieval Times when they eat, obviously. And then an employee found it, accessed company secrets and the porn, which was barely legal porn. And now we get to the section of the story where his whole company finds out that he's jerking it to some cam girls.
So when he delivered this memory stick to the studio, I was on a business trip. I was out of town. So my executive assistant decides she's going to look at the contents as well.
Oh, God.
And so then before I know it, I think the entire office looked at it.
Oh,
no.
And
there was one piece of content on here, and it never occurred to any of them that the reason why there was just that single porno was because of the magic trick, not because of, I don't know what the fuck they thought.
Porn.
Yeah, one of the lines that I heard was, you know, the kind of porn that Randy likes.
And at no point did any of these fucking troglodytes at my company stop and think maybe the reason this porno's on there is because she's a magician, god damn it. A magician with a magic trick that I just had to study. It was the Gordian knot that I had to cut. This was my white whale, my Moby Dick. I needed to figure out how she squirted so much fluid. None of them even considered that possibility. Randy, you fucking weirdo. If you came in possession of that USB stick and you saw that porn, would the first thing you think be like, huh, maybe this guy's not jerking off to this? That'd make no sense. Maybe what he's actually doing is trying to study some, magic. But really, that's where the story ends, because then it just once again devolves into a competition for the host to talk over Randy. And it's just a constant feud to say things at each other. But anyway, what a fucking story, Randy. That's wild. Randy Pitchford, more like Randy Pitch a Tent, because this man is carrying porn around all the time, apparently. Fucking crazy. Wild tale, and now all of you out there have a good excuse. If your significant other finds your porn or something, just say, hey, look, I was just trying to learn the method, you know what I mean? Like, I'm onto a big breakthrough here in my magic career. I think it's foolproof. That shit is fucking watertight, bulletproof, and that is an insane fucking story right there. Again, I just wanted to focus on the story you told on this podcast. I don't want to talk about the lawsuit or any of the claims going around there, because I don't know the whole story there. All I know is the whole story from this weird fucking USB stick porn adventure from Randy. So, yeah, Gearbox is still a shit video game company, but god damn it, Randy, I like your story. It's a weird one. Take it easy. See ya. I've talked about tons of evil companies and industries over the years, but the one I want to talk about today makes Umbrella Corp from Resident Evil look like Weenie Hut Jr. Health insurance. Now, I've ranted and raved about health insurance on stream quite a few times, way before the big thing that happened recently. And I'll just be clear up front that I'm not here to talk too much about Brian Thompson getting banished to the Shadow Realm. I'm here to talk mainly about health insurance itself and how corrupt and malicious it is, as well as the United Health Group CEO Andrew Whitty's video that he made about the response to this whole thing. So to be clear, Brian Thompson was the CEO of United's insurance division. Andrew Whitty is the CEO of United Health Group.
I'm sure everybody has been disturbed by the amount of negative and in many cases vitriolic media and commentary that has been produced over the last few days, particularly in the social media environment.
Yeah, mean words are so much more disturbing than an entire business model that revolves around making oodles of cash off the corpses of your clients as you knowingly deny coverage for life-saving medical treatment for those individuals that have been paying you for so long, for the single purpose of you stepping in to help in an emergency situation. Then when that unfortunate time arises, it's just crickets and radio silence, and then like a giant stamp of denied from United. Here's a nice little graph that helps showcase how efficient these health insurance providers have become at denying your claims. And United Healthcare, they got it down to a science. They are way out in front. They got the gold medal with 33% denied claims. To put that into Fortnite terms, United is grittying to a fucking winner chicken dinner dubski as you and your loved ones are dying. It's no surprise why people hate health insurance. It's not a political issue like a lot of people are trying to make it. You can see some of the usual suspects on YouTube saying things like, oh, the lefties are celebrating the death of this healthcare CEO, an innocent man just looking to put food on the table for his families. And if you look at the comments, it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, everyone has been fucked equally by health insurance. They are the Thanos level threat to human beings' survival. Everybody knows somebody, and you may even be the victim yourself, that has been denied by their health insurance provider because the whole purpose of the health insurance business model is you pay them for a long period of time to do a single task for you, which is help in an emergency situation, and their goal is to find ways out of doing that task you pay them for, to fuck you in the face, literally just let people croak because they don't want to pay the money to cover those procedures that could save someone's life. They make money off normal people dying, and normal people are paying them for the service. It is so fucked up.
And I want to reassure you of a few things. Firstly, we are going to continue to make sure that we put patients, consumers, and members first, as we always have done.
What? Pardon? I must not have heard him right. There's no way Mr. Krabs just tried to sit there with a straight face looking like my wrinkled nutsack saying that United has always put members, consumers, and patients first. What? I mean, oh, maybe he meant like putting them first in the ground after they deny the life-saving medical treatment that they were looking for. Maybe that's what he meant. I'm not entirely sure, but there's no way he actually tried to say that United puts the patients first, right? There's no way. I mean, you could just look at the data. 33% of all claims being denied? Like, in what universe does he think anyone's going to believe that? Everybody has been affected by this. It's not like this is some big secret. Everyone knows how fucking foul the health insurance industry is, and United is the worst offender. Like, here, I'll give you actual footage of the United CEO anytime one of its clients die after a denied claim. Man, I just broke that. Man, look what you made me do, Andrew! Look what you made me do!
The mission of this company is truly to make sure that we help the system improve by helping the experience for individuals get better and better.
Mission failed then, Andrew, in the biggest possible way. And the response that you're seeing to all this should be a pretty clear indication that every single human being on the planet that has been cursed with United health insurance coverage feels that the experience has only gotten worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse as you have made more and more and more and more and more and more doubloons off of denying claims. Hey, real quick, Andrew, can you go ahead and put on your reading glasses and take a peek at this for me? Look at this chart and tell me exactly whose experience has been getting better? Because it's not the normal American that has to have health insurance. It seems more like it might just be United Health Group itself. I'll quickly take a moment to play in the pigpen and tackle the most brain dead that are trying to justify or defend the health insurance companies. Like, I couldn't imagine anything more pathetic than doing free PR for health insurance of all things, but there are those absolute worms out there doing that in the trenches right now. I see a lot of people making the comparison that a health insurance provider denying a claim is not the same as killing someone. It's fundamentally doing that. If someone's coming to their health insurance that they've been paying for how many years, and they are looking for coverage for a very expensive medical procedure, and they say no, and that person dies because they no longer could afford that medical procedure that would have saved their life, then that is the insurance provider fundamentally killing that person. And the comparison that some of the pseudo-intellectual enlightened super dweebs on Twitter are comparing it to is saying like, oh, well, if someone needs a kidney and you're not on the kidney donor list, so you don't give them a kidney, did you murder that person? Shouldn't even really need to explain why that's absolute dog shit, but I'll go ahead and do it anyway. Was that person paying you for years and years with the sole purpose of you donating that kidney to them should they need it? Probably not. They weren't a client or anything like that. Like, not being a kidney donor is completely different than being a health insurance provider who is paid for a sole task, and then they do everything they can to not do that task. And then when someone dies as a result of their refusal to do that task they have been paid for, that is the health insurance provider having a big hand in that person's demise. Another pretty obvious difference here is that giving a kidney is an extremely big deal. Like, that is a risky thing to the person who does it, whereas in health insurance, the only risk in paying for someone's medical procedure is that your shareholders might not get as many millions of dollars because now you might actually have to start doing what people are paying you for. If there is a chance that United Health paying for a medical procedure means they can't afford to pay for someone else's, then they shouldn't be in business in the fucking first place. It means they're trash at what they're supposed to be doing. They're being paid by everyone to do this task of covering their medical procedures when they need it. And if they can't afford to do that, they should not be around.
There was nobody who did more to try and advance that mission than Brian Thompson. And there are very few people in the history of the US healthcare industry who had a bigger positive effect on American healthcare than Brian.
Hey, come back to reality. Andrew, we're losing you. You're fading into Narnia right now. What are you talking about, man? Making tens of millions of dollars at a company that leads the nation in denied health insurance claims is not pushing the industry in any positive direction for normal Americans, man.
And we are going to make sure that we not only acknowledge and honor that legacy of Brian, but we will continue it.
That's right, everyone. We are going to be pushing for 50% denied claims next year in honor of this mission. It's a lofty goal, but I think we can deny even more claims come 2025. So mark your calendars. 2025 is United's year. We're making history. Half of all claims will be denied. Mark my words. Like, this isn't something to get excited about, man. The mission has just been growing your profits while denying more claims. So you proudly announcing that you're going to be continuing that mission is about as painful as you coming out and saying that you're going to continue waterboarding me. Like, why would I be pumping my fist about that? The only one that gets excited there is your shareholders.
Our role is a critical role, and we make sure that care is safe, appropriate, and is delivered when people need it. And we guard against the pressures that exist for unsafe care or for unnecessary care to be delivered in a way which makes the whole system too complex and ultimately unsustainable.
What is sustainable, though, is all of that growth United keeps experiencing. That's what really matters. We need to make sure that is sustained. This is garbage, man. This is actual just baloney. He's just blabbering about nothing. It's a yappuccino trying to spin this as like them trying to do something good. It's not. What Andrew and his company deem unnecessary care is completely unreasonable oftentimes, where it is very necessary for the patient to stay alive. Well, we denied this claim because we felt it was unnecessary, because we did a cost-benefit analysis and we concluded that the patient was going to die in 60 years anyway, so what's really the point in spending all this money to keep them alive now when they're just going to kick the bucket in, a couple of decades?
So we're going to continue to make that case. We will continue to do the work we do. And I have never been more proud of this company and our colleagues and what this company does on behalf of people in need across the country.
You would really think, with what happened here, Someone like Andrew, and I don't believe that he's even really human anymore. I believe he has sold his soul many, many years ago and is just this hollow husk that's only filled with money. But you would still think at some point the neurons would fire in his noodle and he'd see this response and be like, that mission, you know, about helping people, kind of failed at that, didn't we? Maybe we should do something different. But he hasn't even had that realization. Or maybe he has and he just doesn't care, which is the more likely explanation. But you would just truly think that the reality would set in like, oh, people fucking hate us. People are awake to how exploitative we are and how we are actively making their lives harder.
I'd encourage you to tune out that critical noise that we're hearing right now. It does not reflect reality. It is simply a sign of an era in which we live.
Great advice. All those people talking about how corrupt this industry is, yes, please plug your ears to that so that way you don't actually hear from the victims of our business model. We don't want you to start feeling sympathy for the numbers on our bottom line, all right? We need to make sure that we don't look at them as anything real. They're just imaginary NPCs for our money, and we like that money, don't we? It's just so crazy. It's so crazy. He's saying that it doesn't reflect reality. Brother, that is the reality. These are your clients that are coming out and sharing their experiences. It doesn't get any more real than that. As opposed to your fucking barnacles that you're vomiting out here, that is the fraudulent fakeness. The reality is that people have been fucked by your health insurance company and plenty of others. The industry is rotten to its very core, and people know that, which is why this isn't some big political issue of left and right. Everyone is united in how hard they have been fucked and how many times they have seen people be affected negatively by this industry. And this guy just refuses to let that set in, and he's trying to brainwash his employees to just be numb to it and pay no attention to it.
What we must do is focus on what we know to be true. And what we know to be true is that the health system needs a company like United Health Group, and it needs people like Brian within it. We're fortunate that within this company, we have so many people driven and inspired in the same way that Brian was, and we will continue in our journey to help everybody who needs it within the health environment.
It's just crazy. I know I don't need to keep ranting about it, but it actually does just blow my mind that he would even say things like that, which are so provably false. It's honestly like almost a threat that they have plenty of other people like Brian in the company that are as inspired as Brian and focusing on what Brian was focusing on, which is clearly the profits in the company and denying more claims so they can make more money. That's a bad thing. And he's just talking about it like it's an accolade to be super proud of and something to be excited about. It's just frightening. It's actually just frightening. So yeah, I wanted to rant about health insurance a little bit. That's it. See ya. I know I look awfully disheveled right now, which is extremely unprofessional, and that's uncharacteristic of me, so I do apologize for the lack of professionalism. I look like a time-traveling caveman who just got out of the machine and is curious on what year it is. But there's a good reason for it, I'll briefly explain. I play pickup basketball every Thursday night. I'm getting absolutely filthy. I wouldn't be surprised if I got recruited into the NBA over the next couple years, but that's besides the point. After the pickup basketball game this evening, I hopped on Twitter for the first time today and noticed something huge. Susan has stepped down as CEO of YouTube. This news kind of came out of nowhere. I haven't been this surprised since I was a child and learned that chocolate milk didn't come from brown cows. Susan has been the CEO of YouTube for the last 9 years, but she's been at Google for 25, and now she's hanging up her dancing shoes and stepping away from the company. However, she is still taking on an advisory role to Google and Alphabet, as I understand it. She did post a statement going into detail, just kind of like a swan song on the way out, going over the years and the progress that the platform has made. Really, the whole post feels almost like a YouTube rewind, you know, at least the closest thing we've had over the last couple of years since they canned that whole thing. It's just a look at YouTube and what's happened since she's taken the helm. And her future plans aren't revealed at the moment. We don't know. It could be anything. You know, maybe she fucking announces an NFT project. You know, anything's possible. But there is one thing we do know. YouTube is going to have a new CEO. And most people are pretty pessimistic about it for good reason. Now, I know a lot of people have criticized Susan, and rightfully so. There's plenty of things that you can point out as being suboptimal, and a lot of things that didn't ever get fixed that needed fixing, and changes that should have come but still haven't come. There's plenty of things that you can critique. But I have always maintained that at least Susan knew what was going on the platform. She'd talk to creators, even though it pretty much fell on deaf ears. Anytime a creator gave her advice, YouTube would kind of wipe their ass with it felt like. She at least talked to them. She'd sit down and talk to some creators. She would post about YouTube frequently on Twitter. She seemed proud of the platform and would actively talk about YouTube, which is more than you could say about a lot of tech CEOs in the business. And the example I always use is Twitch, with our beloved Emmett Shear. I'm convinced this guy doesn't even know he's the CEO of Twitch. He seems genuinely embarrassed to even be associated with it. When you go to his Twitter bio, it's the last thing there, and he kind of downplays his involvement by just saying he's working on Twitch. The guy is literally the CEO of the platform, but I don't think you could find a single tweet he's made about Twitch. And he's never really made any appearances on Twitch. He doesn't talk about it or anything at all. I've only ever actually seen him one time to confirm he's a human being, and it was on a stream where he seemed kind of out of it, like he was either drunk or on Xanax, and he just didn't have any clue what he was talking about when he was mentioning the platform. I'd place a wager that Emmett couldn't name a single streamer on Twitch right now. So at least Susan seemed to know what was going on the platform and actively engaged with it, even though she didn't really fix a lot of shit, and even though there was a lot of mismanagement, like at the very highest level, at the very least, she talked about the platform. She did identify problems, though falling short on fixing a lot of them. And they did roll out good features under her belt, while also rolling out some stinkers. So it wasn't like the perfect reign, but it wasn't the worst either. There's always been plenty of room for the platform to get shittier, and hopefully that won't be the case with the new CEO. I'd like to believe that it'll only improve, but time will tell. I'm going to try and remain optimistic on the future of the platform. Though I do want to mention something in regards to the timing of Susan stepping down. I don't know how many of you know about this currently, but there is an extremely important legal battle going on right now called Gonzalez versus Google. And the outcome of this litigation could completely change not only the entire landscape of YouTube, but the internet as a whole. Legal Eagle actually just posted a video going over this case in detail, and I can't recommend the video enough so you get a sense for exactly what's going on and the severity of it. I'm going to break it down into its most basic form. YouTube had a problem where it was recommending ISIS videos, extremist content, to users. And what ended up happening is it radicalized some users and it led to a legitimate terror attack. And this put this whole problem on display and has led to this lawsuit, which is now getting into very, very dangerous territory with something called Section 230. That's as far as I'm going to go in the breakdown, but Section 230 is instrumental in the internet landscape. Without it, the internet doesn't function as it currently does. It gets a lot worse in many, many, many different ways. Check out Legal Eagle's video on the case. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is because this has YouTube in its crosshairs. Google entirely, but the problem stemmed from YouTube. And now Susan steps down during this extremely crucial period. That's setting off alarm bells for me. Now, I know Susan's not going to court with, like, you know, a sword and a shield ready to do battle for YouTube. She's not a fucking lawyer, right? I know she's not the one actually tackling them in the court of justice for the fucking WWE SmackDown Gonzalez versus Google. But she is the public-facing company. She is very high up in the company, obviously. She is a senior leadership position. So during a moment like this kind of huge deal, I would expect her to want to be there to fight for it. To be there and lend her 25 years of experience and expertise in the field to help navigate these waters and to try and make things smooth and get the best outcome here. So her stepping down during this is a little weird to me, and maybe it's because I'm a little naive on the exact structure of YouTube as well as how Google compartmentalizes it. Like, maybe she really would be completely worthless in this case and would offer no valuable insight, but I just find that hard to believe since the problem stemmed from her neck of the woods, YouTube, which she's the CEO of. I feel like she would have the deepest insight and understanding in order to help with the case, but maybe that's not how it works. I just still find the timing to be a little concerning given the severity of the Gonzalez versus Google case. But anyway, back to talking about the future of the platform. We are going to see a new CEO enter into the Thunderdome here, and I'm very curious to see exactly how they're going to perform. I'm hoping it'll be great, but you know, it remains to be seen. They've got a lot of work to do. Are we going to see really sweeping improvements? Like, are things going to be getting fixed? Is the new CEO going to be focusing on fixing broken things like the manual review, the algorithm for flagging content, shit like that? Or are they going to be focusing on improving features that are still kind of busted? Maybe are they going to focus on implementing new features that are good, that I don't even have any conception of, like any possible fucking idea on? I will say the beauty of someone new stepping in as a CEO right now is there is an easy layup they can make that would instantly earn the trust of the entire community. Just an absolute fucking free bread basket. Bringing back dislikes. It's that simple. You can still see dislikes through an extension, so just turn them back on publicly. That would instantly be an incredible change that would set the entire tone of the new CEO's reign as, you know, the top dog here. It would showcase to the community that the CEO can recognize issues, can see community feedback, and actually take it into account when going forward. Bringing back dislikes is the #1 thing this new CEO can do instantly to get off on the right foot and have a very strong start. Are they just going to be good changes, or are we going to see them double down on some horrible ideas, like when they floated the idea of doing fucking NFTs on YouTube? Or how about that timeless classic when they required you to have a Google Plus account in order to comment on the platform, which was an absolute burning bag of dog shit of an idea? Like, are we going to see more ideas like that that are just overwhelmingly horrible and terrible? But yeah, anyway, we'll just have to wait and see how the new CEO performs. Hopefully it's great, big wet sloppy kisses all around, the platform improves entirely, that'd be ideal. But yeah, anyway, just wanted to talk about it. That's about it. See ya.